I maintain that truth is a pathless land and you cannot approach it by any path whatsoever, by any religion, by any sect. That is my point of view, and I adhere to that absolutely and unconditionally. Truth being limitless, unconditioned, unapproachable by any path whatsoever, cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or to coerce people along any particular path. If you first understand that, then you will see how impossible it is to organize a belief. A belief is purely an individual matter, and you cannot and must not organize it. If you do, it becomes dead, crystallized, it becomes a creed, a sect, a religion to be imposed on others. This is what everyone throughout the world is attempting to do. So Sonali says, kindly explain what J.K. really wanted to convey. Also, as I see, a particular path was imposed on J.K. from his very childhood. He resisted that path, and as a result he even dissolved the order of the star. When J.K. says such things, then I want to inquire, aren't they too arising from the fact that a certain structure was imposed on J.K. and as a result a major part of teaching lays emphasis on no authority in human form? I wanted to inquire here that even with a guru, with all my love and devotion towards the teacher, doesn't his personality play a role in the deliverance of his teachings? And if that is so, how will it help mankind in a generalized way? For we are people bounded in personalities. For example, there are many who are in need of an authority in human form, but they will resist all human authority and will quote J.K. in such matters. At the same time, there would be a mind that would want to inquire and not just readily follow the teachings of a master. What is the right way to understand, inquire and follow the teachings? How to follow the right path and when to discard the path? I hope I am able to give a gist of what I am intending to ask. Thank you, dear Mr. Sonali. I'll reread for everybody. I maintain that truth is a pathless land and you cannot approach it by any path whatsoever, by any religion, by any sect. That is my point of view, and I adhere to that absolutely and unconditionally. Truth being unlimited, unconditioned, unapproachable by any path whatsoever, cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or to coerce people along any particular path. If you first understand that, then you will see how impossible it is to organize a belief. A belief is purely an individual matter, and you cannot and must not organize it. If you do, it becomes dead, crystallized. It becomes a creed, a sect, a religion to be imposed on others. That is what everyone throughout the world is attempting to do. The context must be understood. Truth obviously is a pathless land. It is not even a land. It is an empty sky. It is not even an empty sky. It is pure emptiness. And pure emptiness is nothing. Obviously, there is no way to produce nothingness or obtain it. Obviously, there can be no method or route, process or formula, method or trick to come to that which is non-existent in worldly terms. Pure nothingness, emptiness, a cleanliness, the purest void. So obviously, truth being nothing at all in human terms, one can do nothing with the truth. Truth has to be, rather the matter of truth has to be kept aside with due humility and reverence. Man must say, truth is not a matter. Truth is not matter. Therefore, the matter of truth is beyond me. So the issue of truth is dealt with. How is it dealt with? By not dealing with it at all. You can deal with issues, and the issue of truth is a non-issue. Don't deal with it at all. What does dealing involve? Dealing involves thinking, analysis, formulation. Grasping, defining, limiting, dissecting. Spare the truth from all these attempts, because truth is anyway not amenable to all these attempts. You can make attempts only upon that which is, that which exists, that which has some kind of material existence, that which the senses, the mind can make some sense of. Truth obviously holds no meaning for the body and the mind. Let's keep that matter aside. So now we have space to look at ourselves and not the truth. Now the mind is free to look at that which the mind is capable of seeing. Now the mind need not waste itself in the futile attempt to grasp the ungraspable, to conceive the inconceivable, to see the unseeable. Now the mind can look at itself. Now the mind is not burdened with doing the impossible. So when the mind looks at itself, what does it see? The mind sees all kinds of limitations, fears, prejudices, clevernesses, and those are real things. Those are material facts of existence. They really do exist. Man's greed does exist. Man's helplessness does exist. Man's sorrow does exist. And in the sense in which man's greed and sorrow and helplessness exist, truth really does not exist. If we are using the word existent, having existence, existent, for ourselves and our fears and sorrows, then we cannot use the same word for the truth. If we exist and our pettinesses and sufferings exist, then truth cannot be called as existent in the same breath. So yes, we exist and the matters facing us are quite real. And man being conditioned, both biologically and socially, it is observable that both the biological and the social aspects of man's conditioning are quite similar across a great cross-section of human beings. So we are saying that not only are we all conditioned, and that conditioning is what relates to our greed and sorrow and such things, but we are saying that we are all conditioned alike to a great extent. You find fear everywhere, you find possessiveness everywhere, you find ingratitude everywhere, you find desires and attractions everywhere, you find base tendencies and local identification everywhere. So obviously we are not merely conditioned, we are conditioned alike in many ways. And it is not just because the society conditions us all in a similar way and colors us all with the same colors. It is because we are all born alike. All babies cry upon being born, don't they? And all babies belong to either of the two genders, don't they? And all babies are born small. So we are all anyway conditioned alike. Isn't it? Even biologically we are conditioned alike. It is not merely the society that is dyeing us in the same shades. So where have we reached? We have very reverentially and with humility and some understanding kept the matter of truth aside, acknowledging that it is beyond human capacity to delve into the subject of truth. Then we are left with the matter of human mind. And with respect to human mind, we see that human beings are conditioned alike to some extent, probably even to a great extent. And that has been the utility of religions. You cannot approach the truth, of course, but can't you clean up the mind? And because the minds are all similarly unclean, so there can be general methods that are devised to clean up the mind. We have to very clearly acknowledge here that these methods are not methods to approach the truth. These are methods to rid the mind of its unnecessary baggage. We are not talking of measuring the sky. Obviously, that is beyond human competence. We are talking of cleaning up our eyes. These eyes that look at a tiny part of the sky. We are talking of cleaning up these little eyes. Surely that is not beyond human capacity, or is even that undoable? No. Cleaning up of our eyes is not undoable. Measuring up the sky is obviously unthinkable and undoable. So religions really have not existed to sum up the sky. The religions have existed to clean up man's eyes. That has been the rightful purpose of religion. But obviously the purposes get distorted, and we will take up more of that in the next part of the answer, which relates to organizations and organized religion. So why have paths existed? Why have religions existed? So that man may be given a way There is much that biology and society do to spoil and condition the mind. And there is something that has arisen within the societies to decondition as well. That is called religion. So even though religion has been often described as a movement towards the truth, but I would surely agree when Krishnamurti picks the holes in such a definition. Had truth been somewhere, a movement towards the truth could have been possible, but the truth is nowhere. How would you go towards the truth? Religion is then more appropriately about purifying the mind. And the pure mind is directly and spontaneously, effortlessly in communion with the truth. With the mind purified, there is no need to worry about the truth. The pure mind itself is the truth. We know how greed and pride affect all of us. We know how we are all slaves to lust, fear, gluttony. So obviously, if there can be some discipline, not a blind discipline obviously, but a discipline arising out of understanding, to watch, know, tame, and ultimately dissolve lust and greed, then such a way is welcome. And such a way is indeed possible. Because lust is material, because greed is tangible. And whatsoever is material follows a process. Investigate into the physical and mental world. Have you ever come across something that is material and does not follow a process? From the tiniest electron or quark to the mightiest star, all follow processes, don't they? Even the fact of mental conditioning tells us that mind too follows processes. Otherwise, how could processes condition the mind? Matter follows processes, mind follows processes, and lust and greed are all mental material. So they too will follow a process. A process involves causation, for example. Don't we know that fear can be caused? Don't we know that ignorance can be brought about? Don't we know that an entire population can be turned superstitious? So obviously, if there is a process for turning an entire population superstitious, there can be a process for getting rid of superstition as well. Repeating it. So having kept aside the truth, now we are at great freedom to do something more tangible, more real. Somebody with the intention of spoiling the floor can come and pour some liquid here. And pouring the liquid on the floor would ensure that the floor gets spoiled. So he knows the process by which to spoil the floor. And if there can be a process to spoil the floor, there equally can be a process to clean it up. Obviously, that would require the due application of intelligence. But there can be a process. I would repeat, we are talking of cleaning up the floor, not measuring up the sky. So if cleaning up the floor is possible and the liquid and the floor are all material, and here we are using the liquid and the floor as analogous to conditioning and mind, then why not have ways to clean up? And that's what the saints and the prophets and the religions in their essence have emphasized upon. They have said, we know very well how the society keeps on corrupting you 24 hours. We understand the ways of Prakriti and society. We see how they spoil you, mislead you, and tempt you constantly. And so here are some ways whereby you can defend yourself, whereby you can undo the constant damage being inflicted upon you. For example, if the world is constantly tempting you to look at itself, then a way to avoid getting corrupted is to look at yourself. Just when you are being pulled outside of yourself, if you can remind yourself to remain within and centered, then you have avoided a great deal of damage. And this method is indeed useful. So when you are reading Krishnamurti, you have to read with a lot of empathy. You must understand where he is coming from. Anybody devising a method to reveal the truth to you is probably ignorant or even a fraudster. But there can be ways to show the mirror to you. And that is very much possible. Not only is it possible, it must be done. You can't look into the truth, but can't you even look into the mirror? Obviously, there can be no way to inquire into the truth or approach the truth. But can there be no way to look at your own face even? Religions exist not really to show you the truth, they exist to show you the mirror. But that is how religions are born. The real religion brings man to himself. That is how it is born. But then after a while, it gets organized. It is then not religion but organized religion that is a problem. Real religion is just pure religiousness. And religiousness is the very climate of the intelligent and devoted mind. One can have no qualms with religiousness, pure religion. But organized religion, that has often proved to be a great devil. Let's hear again what Krishnamurti said about organizations. Truth being limitless, unconditioned, unapproachable by any path whatsoever, cannot be organized, nor should any organization be formed to lead or to coerce people along any particular path. So you see what Krishnamurti is doing. He is saying, let there be no organization. Let there be no organization to lead or force people along a particular path. A guide, a teacher, a friend, Krishnamurti himself is. It's not the awakening of religiousness that Krishnamurti is opposing. You will have to be very clear on this. It is not the awakening of religiousness that Krishnamurti is opposing. Krishnamurti is opposing the organization of belief and religion. So when it comes to the direct contact, the direct conversation, the direct communication between the teacher and his audience, Krishnamurti is himself setting an example. Is not Krishnamurti talking to you? And when Krishnamurti is talking to you, it is a purely religious act. It is, I said, religiousness in its essence. So here is Krishnamurti directly talking to you and saying, it is all right when the teacher directly talks to the student. Because Krishnamurti is himself directly talking to you, and that's what he did for more than 60 years of his life. He kept talking to the audiences. Then what is he opposing? He is opposing the religion, that the organization that comes up around the teacher. He is making a great distinction. You have to understand this. You see, you have quoted Krishnamurti. When did Krishnamurti say what you have quoted? Obviously, he said this while interacting with an audience. So he is talking, discussing, teaching. And that is so wonderful, so great. He is not opposed to that at all. Had he been opposed to that, why would he have been talking to you? What then is he deeply opposing? He is opposing the direct and live interaction the alive love turning into a sect, a creed. In love, there are two things that must not happen. Krishnamurti and his listeners, the teacher and his students, it's an intimate love affair. Otherwise, why would the teacher speak and why should the student listen? In love, there are two things that you don't want to happen. One, that love dies and all that you have is memories of love. And you keep repeating those memories. You are trying to relive those memories. And all that is so very ineffective, rather nauseating. That is the first thing that should not happen in love. That love has long since expired. And what is remaining is the tradition of love. One would not like that. So when love was really blooming, with all its colors and juice, Then the two used to laugh and hug and talk and walk. And now that love is gone, they are still trying to go through the formal traditions as if love is still alive. So love is gone, but the hugs and the smiles and the talks and the walks, all so empty and ugly now, remain. Would you want that to happen? There was a point when love did exist, and after that point there is only the memory and the tradition. You are trying to enact that which used to happen at one point very spontaneously. Then it was spontaneous. Now it is arranged and planned. Then Meera used to spontaneously dance for her beloved. Now it has become a tradition to dance on one particular day of the month. You are trying to forcibly relive the love. Is that likable? Not at all. So that is one thing that should not happen in love, right? Love is gone and you are trying to go through the motions. You have turned love into a tradition. Because lovers used to do that, so let us continue doing that with no love. That is one thing. The second thing that should not happen in love is the appearance of intermediaries. When Krishnamurti is talking to his audience, there is no one in between. And that's great. In a love affair, there is no space for the third one. Even the two-ness is difficult to bear. How can a third one be accommodated? Right? But that's exactly what organization of religion does. Now between the source and the student come many intermediaries, and those intermediaries are evil. That's what Krishnamurti is trying to slay. He was not against addressing an audience or talking to students. He was against the order of the star, the organization. The organization has to be dissolved. Because the organization involves many third parties. And who wants a third party in love? And the third party gains a lot of reflected power. The priest sometimes becomes more powerful than even God. And obviously the priest remains much more powerful than the devotee. Between the God and the devotee sits the priest. And the priest is like an agent who consumes commission from both sides. So, the blessings of God that must reach the devotee start passing through the priest, and the priest takes his cut. The blessings were directly for the devotee,
But the intermediary will keep his share and bask in reflected glory. He becomes an agent of the source. And similarly, the respect, the reverence that the student has for the teacher starts passing through the intermediary. And the intermediary starts taking a cut. And in both cases, the intermediary is not only unnecessarily profiting, but also creating a distance, an evil distance between the source and the student. There are so many jokes about priests and temples and churches. Are there not? So, one of the jokes runs this way. There was a simple and humble man who was trying to gain entrance into a temple. And the man is simple and humble. So he was not being allowed entrance. One night, driven by intense love, he decides to scale the temple wall and jump inside. So in the dead and dark of night, when he is climbing up the wall, he finds that another man is trying to do the same. So he asks his companion, "Hello, why are you trying to do this? I had to resort to this because they didn't allow me entry." So the other man says, "But why do you want to go inside?" He says, "Because I want to meet God. I want to go inside the temple because I want to meet God." The other man says, "I am God. They have not been allowing me entry since many years now. I too am trying to somehow jump inside and see what's going on." That's what the intermediaries do. They appropriate the temple. The devotee is out, and the big joke is that even God is out. Even God is left with having nothing to do with his own temple, with his own organization. The priests, the agents run the show, and they are the ones who take the cut and make the profit. That is why Krishnamurti had to dissolve the order of the star. There is a wonderful book by Wilhelm Reich. Listen, little man. It's actually an essay. Wilhelm Reich was an Austrian American psychologist. And it's a sharp attack on how all the little men surround the big man and ultimately force him to come down to their level. Wilhelm Reich says that whenever the big man wants to do something big in the world, he has to create an organization. Because if you want to reach out to millions, then you need people. So he surrounds himself with small men. And these small men, instead of assisting the big man, instead of growing up to be like the big man, stay small and pull the big man down to smallness. That's what happens in organizations. Krishnamurti is clearly warning you, stay clear of organizations. Stay close to Krishnamurtis and remain very cautious of organizations. Very, very cautious. Krishnamurti was very wise. Not only did he dissolve his organization right in the beginning, his entire life he never created a big organization. He said, I will go solo. Because the moment I surround myself with priests and agents and intermediaries, corruption is going to set in. No religion ever had a corrupted beginning. But the moment the power goes to the hands of those who are not the founder of the religion starts getting deeply corrupted and exploitative. Love Jesus, but be very cautious of churches. Love Krishna, but be very cautious of organizations carrying the name of Krishna. We know of greatly fraudulent organizations carrying the Krishna name, don't we? The Upanishads keep talking of Brahma to you. So does the Ribhu Gita. But be very cautious of organizations carrying the Brahma name. In the same vein, I would advise all listeners to know me, come close to me. Understand me and listen to me. But stay cautious of even my own organization. Organizations have a certain utility, but if one must listen to Wilhelm Reich, and if one must appreciate what J.K. did, then all organizations deserve to be dissolved one day. The student the listener, the devotee, the seeker stands at a distance. The question has been asked by Sonali and she is sitting in the US. And the one sitting so far away has no way of looking directly into the truth of an organization. At the center of the organization lies the founder or the teacher. And at the periphery lie many others. The world is outside that periphery, right? So the world is able to relate only to the periphery. The world cannot reach the center without passing through the periphery. And because the students are numerous, then purely for practical reasons, it becomes important that not all students are to have direct access to the center. So all that the students have access to is the periphery. And it is easy for the students to confuse and conflate the periphery with the center. Looking from a distance, the organization appears like an integrated whole. It appears as if the center and the periphery are one. So the respect that the student has for the center gets accorded to the periphery as well. But the center and the periphery are not one. The prophet and the religion are not one. God and church are not one. The teacher and his organization are not one. From a distance, it appears as if they are one. In fact, the teacher is not even accessible. So all the love and all the reverence that the students have for the teacher, they devote that love and reverence to the periphery. And the periphery keeps on blossoming, the periphery keeps on becoming thicker. The walls at the periphery keep on getting higher. And as the walls get higher, the access of the wider world to the center keeps getting more and more restricted. This is what has happened throughout history in all the organized religions. The walls get so high that the devotee can have no realistic hope of directly accessing the deity. The temple becomes the priest's fiefdom. Does it not? Nobody asks God how the temple should be run. It's the priest who runs the show. And how have the walls become higher and thicker? By using all the offerings that the devotees have brought. for the deity, for the founder, for the original teacher. Are you getting it? Now you would also see why J.K. spoke so extensively. Because he wanted to make the best use of his living time. It's the living teacher who counts. Once the teacher is gone, all you have is dead remains. And all you have is an organization around the teacher's name. Often it is seen that the light of the teacher is possible to be seen in his students, his readers, his devotees who have been situated very, very far from him. But it is very uncommon that the light of the teacher would be found in his organization. In fact, if you are a listener or a devotee sitting far away, then the one person you should be greatly cautious of is the intermediary. The devotee should be very cautious of the priest. Your Acharya ji all his life has avoided priests, though he has been in love with God. There have been times when priests have been unavoidable. Then he has maintained only a transactional relationship with them, knowing fully them that the priest is representing God only in a very limited sense. In fact, it is far more likely that he will misrepresent God for his own purposes. If there is one beautiful thing to be learned from Krishnamurti in this aspect, it is that the teacher must, with all his energy, with all his time, continue relating to his audiences directly all his life. Even till a few months before his physical demise, at the age of 91, Krishnamurti was talking, and that was his life work. And he made it a point to clearly articulate that he is leaving no successor behind. If you ask him, he would say, that which needed to be done has been done by me in my lifetime directly with my audiences. Neither do I need a successor, nor do I need an organization, and obviously no middlemen. We often feel that the messenger, the teacher, the guide, the friend, the prophet, whatever be the name you want to give, is waging a war against the evil in the world. But that's not factual. That's a very romantic and dreamy description of what is really happening. The big man is not so very troubled when he is waging a war against the world. He has all the power to fight against outsiders. It is that very same power that has made him the big man. Forces on the outside cannot deter him. His real fight is with the insiders. His real fight really is with the organization. It is the small men in the organization who pester him and sometimes even defeat him. They are able to do that because due to situations and due to the need of the big man to have staff around him, the small men have gained closeness to the big man. Otherwise, they were powerless. That which gives power to the small man is his proximity to the big man. Otherwise, he has no worth, no value. Many of you who are listening to me right now have deep regards for me, therefore, you should listen very carefully and be very careful. The question of organized religion is a very, very important question. I have always tried to take you directly to the awakened ones. Never have I tried to take you to a specific religion. To me, Krishna and Ram are not Hinduism. To me, Jesus is not Christianity. And to me, the Prophet Muhammad is not Islam. I have tried to bring the Buddha to you, not Buddhism. Krishnamurti is a great reminder to all teachers of today and all teachers that would be, that all orders of the star need to be dissolved.
Sonali says, when J.K. makes the above statements, aren't they too arising from the fact that a certain structure was imposed on J.K. and as a result, a major part of his teaching lays emphasis on no authority in human form? Yes, obviously. No authority in human form. Thanks that you have brought this up.
First of all, you must understand what authority means. Authority means authorship, the beginning, the origin. The author is the origin. That's the literal meaning. The author is the origin. Authority means the one who is original, the source, the very first source. Now, taking it forward from where we left it. Obviously, the organization cannot be the authority. The organization is a material structure. And the authority is non-material. The authority is not worldly. The source from where all goodness arises is not a worldly or material source. And the organization is nothing but a collection of worldly people and rules and norms and such things. No? So obviously the organization cannot be the authority. And in the same vein, even the person of the teacher cannot be the authority, because the person of the teacher, the body of the teacher, too is worldly, and nothing worldly can be the authority. So sitting there in the US, Sonali, you should stay clear of firstly accepting the organization as the authority, and secondly accepting even the body of the teacher as an authority. It is not the personality of the teacher that counts. The person that the teacher is was born one day and would die one day. Truth doesn't die. Or does it? Is truth too subject to the cycle of birth and death? It is not. But the teacher is someone takes birth, dies, lives, has experiences, has stories. So just as one has to avoid the organization and come directly to the teacher, similarly, one has to avoid the body of the teacher and go directly to his essence. These two are analogous precautions that one must take. Avoid the organization is the periphery, and come directly to the teacher. But even when you come directly to the teacher, you find that there is an inner periphery as well. The outer periphery is called the organization. The inner periphery is called the body of the teacher. And it's not much use if you avoided the outer periphery but got stuck at the inner periphery. Cross the outer circle, come to the inner circle, and then cross the inner circle as well. The inner circle is the body, the personality of the teacher. Cross that as well. And then go directly to the center. You would be unfortunate if you are stuck at the level of the organization and start developing relationships and camaraderie at the organizational level. It is unfortunate when you forget the Buddha and become a Buddhist. Is it not? Now, you have everything to do with the outer circle and nothing to do with the essence. And it is equally unfortunate, even more unfortunate, when you come to the Buddha and get consumed by the inner circle. The inner circle is the body of the Buddha. Avoid both. The authority is the center of the teacher, not the body of the teacher. The authority is the place from where the voice of the teacher arises. You have to go to that place. And the voice of the teacher is so captivating. It's like music, mellifluous. Even if the teacher is mellifluous and sings to you, still do not be carried away by merely the tune and the lyrics. Go to the origin of the music. As they say, the origin of music is silence. Go to that silence from where the music of the teacher arises. The organization is noise, a lot of noise. The teacher is a lot of music. You are unfortunate if you got stuck with noise. And I am saying you are equally unfortunate if you are captivated by the music. You have to cross the noise and you have to cross over even the music. You have to go to the silence that the music is pointing at. The music is indeed very, very useful. But do not cling to the music. See what the music is for. See where the music is from. Next, she says, I want to ask that does not the personality of the teacher play a role in the deliverance of his teachings? The personality must play a role in the delivery of the teachings. Yes, a role in the delivery of the teachings. That's what, a role in the delivery. The personality cannot become the teaching. The personality is the postman delivering the teaching. The postman cannot become the message. Or can he? And also remember that the personality is not always attractive. You have written that we find the personality of the teacher attractive. If there are some who will be attracted to the personality, equally there will be numbers who would be repelled by the personality. So the personality is in both ways a barrier. It's great if the teacher has a magnetic personality that helps draw listeners towards him. But then the same thing that helps draw listeners towards him also makes those listeners stick to the inner periphery, which is the personality. If the voice or the face or the composure or the persona of the teacher have attracted you, then what would you be constantly attentive to? The voice, the face, the persona. And you will miss what the teacher wants to really show you. The guide is saying, look towards that river. And you are looking at the guide. You will miss. Being attracted to personality is not love, or is it? If you really are in love with the teacher, then you would listen to him. Not impose your own will upon him, or would you? If the guide is saying, go to the river, and you don't go to the river, are you really in love with the guide? Are you? There are many who are in need of an authority in human form, Sonali is saying. There are many who are in need of an authority in human form, but they resist a human teacher and they quote JK for their purpose. No genuine teacher would anyway ever claim that any human being can be the authority. It's like saying the human being is Brahma. The human being is ultimate. The human being is the source. If a teacher says that, then the teacher is laughable. He's a brat. Just trying to play tricks with the high school principal. All genuine teachers have always said that they are merely vehicles, messengers. No teacher says that he is the human authority. In fact, the characteristic of a teacher is that he would be highly humble. Go to somebody like Sheikh Farid or Guru Nanak Dev or Kabir Sahab and look at their humility. Are they ever saying that they are the authority? In fact, they say we are slaves. Kabir Sahab would say, I am Das. Sometimes he would say, I am the grass under the feet. Sometimes he would say, I am the authority's pet dog. So why are the listeners nervous and afraid? Why are they thinking that the teacher is trying to impose himself as the authority? The teacher is anyway not attempting that. The teacher cannot attempt that if he is genuine. Only the fake teacher will try to act pompous and big. The genuine teacher would be very, very reduced almost to zero. He would be the epitome of reduction. Gone, 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 reduced, and now what is left? Next to nothing. But still, many among the audience, many in the world would be very skeptical, nervous, even afraid. They will say, no, if we go to listen to a teacher, that means that we are submitting to a human authority. No, sir, you are not. If you listen to a radio, are you submitting to the radio? If you listen to a radio set, have you submitted to the mechanical device called radio set? There is some great music flowing from the radio set. Let's say some devotional music. And listening to the music, you bow down. You fold your hands. You may even prostrate because soul-touching devotional music is flowing from the radio. and tears are flowing down your eyes, and you're kneeling down. Just a dramatic representation, please. But even in that case, does it mean that you are offering your respect to the radio set? Only an ignorant and stupid outsider would interpret the event to mean that. No? So somebody is looking from a distance, and what is he seeing? There is a radio set on the table, and somebody is kneeling down in front of the radio set. So what is that outsider thinking? This man is worshipping the radio. But is he worshipping the radio? Something else is happening. Nobody is stupid enough to worship a radio. When you listen to a teacher, when you sit down in front of a teacher, you are not sitting down in front of a human form. All human forms are the same. You are flesh and bone, I too am flesh and bone. Why should flesh and bone sit down in front of flesh and bone? If you are submitting, it is to some authority beyond form and name, not to me. In fact, the day the teacher, whosoever he is, AP or whosoever, ceases to be a vehicle of truth, would you sit down in front of him? Would you? If I start blabbering, would you have any business spending time listening to me? The radio set is useful only as long as it is playing the song. If the radio set gets dysfunctional and instead starts emitting a lot of noise, what do? You leave it alone, or you even throw it away. Right? So don't be afraid. In listening to a living teacher, you are not submitting to a human authority. Far from that. When you listen to a living teacher, then you get freedom from all the authorities that have otherwise occupied your mind. And would you deny that hundreds of authorities occupy your mind? And out of greed or fear, you don't resist. Sometimes out of ignorance you don't resist because you do not even know that your minds stand occupied. And your mind then becomes a colony of the occupationists. And it's a very queer situation then. You are already an occupied territory, and you are saying, I do not want to go to the teacher because he will occupy my mind. But you do not have any mind of your own left. Your mind has been occupied by all and sundry. You have submitted, bowed, kneeled down, prostrated, licked the boots of so many authorities in the society and family and elsewhere. And then you don't bat an eyelid. Then you don't have any compunctions. Very easily, without any pricks within, you keep going to so many authorities everywhere, 24 hours. And when it comes to the one who can rid you of all your inner occupation, Then you say, I don't want to go to him because he will, occupy me. He will enslave me. Enslave you? Are you not already a slave to 1,000 masters? Then we come to a very dangerous fact. Maybe it is not the teacher that you fear, it is freedom that you fear. Then she says, at the same time, would not there be a mind that would want to inquire and just readily follow the teachings of a master? Obviously. But then when you come to the master, you have already been beaten down to be a mind that cannot inquire. Without the teacher, without the master, you live in the world. Tell me, please, does the world encourage you to inquire? Is that what your schools and universities and surroundings and media and family and religion have taught you? To keep inquiring? Have they? Do you really like an inquisitive child? Probably you can tolerate an inquisitive child, but can you tolerate an inquisitive adult who keeps questioning all the mores and norms and traditions? Won't it be obvious to fire an employee who asks too many questions? Won't it be regular to punish a student who asks too many questions? And don't we like people who keep kowtowing, who keep following the line in the name of harmony or teamwork or discipline or respectful behavior? Are you really inquisitive? Where are the questions? Even right now, out of the scores of people enrolled in this program, only 5 questions have arrived. Where is the inquisitiveness? But look at the accusation. The accusation is, I would like to inquire and not readily follow the teachings of the master. The teacher is asking you to inquire and ask questions. But you won't ask questions because you cannot ask questions. The common mind has been so badly beaten down, so very run down, that it loses the power to inquire. It is left with no questions. It can dumbly hear. It cannot engage someone in a conversation. Five questions are all we have. Where is the curiosity? But instead of accepting that the common man is anyway not curious or eager to learn and know, We say that if we go to a teacher, he will not allow us to ask questions, he will just ask us to follow. On the contrary, the teacher is the one who awakens your dormant inquisitiveness. One goes to the teacher dumb as a dodo, with nothing to ask. The teacher enables you to ask, question, resist. What else is neti neti? What else is self-inquiry? The teacher says, inquire, inquire, inquire. Jigyasa, jigyasa. And that same inquisitiveness in its highest form becomes mumuksha, the quest to be liberated, liberated even from questions. It is extremely strange. I often feel as if somebody is serving me a joke. Of myself at least, I am extremely certain that I love to be engaged. It's a mark of a beautiful coming together that both parties can engage constructively and openly with each other. But the condition in which the student comes to the teacher is not a condition conducive to questioning. So, Sonali, rest assured, if you are curious, then the teacher would awaken your curiosity even more. The real teacher can never be someone who dislikes questions. Yes, he may dislike stupid questions. And in that case, he asks you to refine the question and come up with a better one. But he can never be against the questioning spirit. If you do not question, then you will remain who you are. If you do not inquire, how will you know how badly you are stuck? Often it happens, people say that we are left with no questions to ask. Even that is a trick of the mind. Please stay cautious. It's not as if you are left with nothing to ask. The thing is that you might not be asking because that which is left to be asked is too dangerous to be asked. And instead of admitting that I dare not ask, you are saying I am left with nothing to ask. It is only in the final stage that questions totally disappear. Till then, they must remain because they anyway are. And if they are, then you must express them. What is the right way to understand, inquire, and follow the teachings? How to know the right path and when to discard the path? I hope I am able to give a gist of what I am intending to ask. What is the right way to understand, inquire, and follow the teachings? This is the right way. Ask the teacher. In asking anything, you come close. Because you cannot ask without coming close. Asking then is a beautiful way to come close. Ask stupid things and get scolded. But do ask. Even to ask a stupid question, you will have to engage yourself with the teacher. Engage yourself. And it's okay if the teacher hurts your ego a little. What is the utmost that he would say? Come on, Sonali, you are again asking something so stupid. He has at least addressed you, has he not? But if you remain confined and safe, and decide not to open up, then the teacher has no chance of even addressing you. How to know the right path and when to discard the path? Discard the path when you have reached the destination. When else would you discard the path? So the question is the path to reach the teacher. Discard the question once the question has been asked. Now forget the question and just listen. What was the question? The question was a sweet trick. The question was a lover's ploy. You use the question to get the teacher to address you. You use the question to get the teacher to face you. And now that he is facing you, forget everything about the question and just listen. Do not see whether he has answered you. Just listen.